Well, hello, today on Happy Cooking with Yvonne Douglas, we're going to make a German dish called Rouladen. And my mom used to make this all the time when I was growing up. And this year for Christmas, I actually made it for Christmas and it was so good. So I wanted to share my recipe with you and let's get cooking, all right? Well, welcome back. So the first thing we want to do is we're going to use about a pound. This is a little bit over a pound of sandwich steak. Okay, so I'm looking at my sandwich steak and I'm just cutting off just a little bit of the fat. This is pretty good, it doesn't have that much fat on it. And these are pretty thin already, but what I want to do is I'm going to get a little sheet of handy wrap. And I'm going to place it over my meat and get my meat mallet. And I want to just pound it a little bit. I want it a little bit thinner than what this is. And like I said, it's pretty thin already. And I'll show you the thickness. So it's probably about this thick, if you can see. It's pretty thin. So you want it maybe about 1/4 of an inch. I'm gonna bang it on both sides. There we go. And then I'm gonna season it with some salt and pepper. And make sure that when you season it, you season on both sides. Very important. And then my onion powder and garlic powder. That's how I like to kind of season my rouladen. Very important to get that garlic too. It smells really good. And there you go. And so I'm gonna finish making those and then I'll be back. Okay, so after we dice up our pickles, we're using kosher pickles. And I used about 4 or 5 slices and I diced them up real small. And then I used approximately 1/2 of a yellow onion and I diced that up really, really small. My dad used to say, the smaller you cut it, the finer the taste. So definitely make sure that when you cut up your onion, you cut it up really small, chop it, dice it. And so what we did was we got about 4 slices of bacon and we fried it up. Cooked it up, and then there's the bacon fat, and you want to add, and this is not a low-cal meal by the way, you want to add about a tablespoon of butter to that fat, and we're going to saute our onions in that fat from the bacon and a little bit of that butter. So I'm going to add the onions. Let me get my wooden spoon here to the pan. And remember to make sure you dice up your onions really, really small. And I'm going to let that saute in here. I just love the way onions smell. Onions and garlic. Ugh. Speaking of garlic, I'm going to add about a tablespoon of minced garlic to that. And cook those two up together. Smells really, really good. And then of course you want to add a little bit of salt and a little bit of pepper. Just a pinch. Because don't forget your rouladen already is seasoned with salt and pepper, so you don't want too much. I actually like a little extra pepper, so I don't mind extra pepper. And I'm going to saute those onions and add the secret ingredient that many Germans probably do not use. And the secret ingredient comes from my mom. Let me fix the camera here. I'll be right back. I'm telling you, one of these days I'm gonna get a professional setup instead of using my phone for the camera. I'm gonna get a professional setup one day. Anyway, I'm adding Hungarian paprika. That is the secret ingredient that my mom used to add to the onions. And I'm just gonna do about 3 dashes. And the Hungarian paprika I'm using once again is Zeged. I know I mentioned it in my past videos, but just in case you forgot, that's what it looks like. All right. And that is the secret ingredient to those onions. And I'm going to cook that up, let that saute, and you wanna make sure that the onions are translucent. And then we'll know they're done. Okay, so now we're ready to make our rouladen rolls. And so once again, I have my sandwich steak here that's already been seasoned with salt, pepper, onion powder, garlic powder. And now I'm going to add some French's spicy brown mustard. And I'm just gonna give it a squirt. And I'm gonna add also a little bit of Dijon mustard, just a little bit. So I actually use 2 different mustards on my rouladen, okay? And I'm gonna smear that with the back of a spoon. And then I have my filling, and my filling once again consists of the kosher pickles. We've got the onions that have been sauteed with was in the butter and a little bit of that bacon fat, and then garlic was added to the onions, and of course the Hungarian paprika, and then the bacon that has been chopped up. I remember that was around 4 slices of bacon. So I have that, and all I'm gonna do is just add the filling. Doesn't matter which one you add first, and I'm just gonna sprinkle it with the onions. You wanna spread it out. You don't want it clumped up in one area. And a little bit of the pickle, once again, spread out. So basically, that's all it is. You're just adding the pickle, the onions, and the bacon on top of that, 2 different types of mustard. And then you want to get some of these toothpicks, because we're going to roll it up, and I'll show you how you roll it up. You start at the bottom, and you just roll. And then you're going to get your toothpicks and seal them at the ends, just like that. And then that one that was that flap right in the middle. So basically you're only using 3. So I'm gonna finish my rolls, and then I'll show you how to cook it up. I'll be right back. Okay, so I got some Wesson oil and put the oil at the bottom. Just enough to cover the bottom, and we're going to add our rouladen to the pan. We're just gonna wait just a little bit, make sure that is warm enough. And basically you're just going to drop it in there. Always use tongs. Tongs are those indispensable cooking tools that we definitely need in our kitchen. All right, and I'm just adding the rouladen. I'm going to cook that up, and basically you want to cook it up for approximately, it's going to be about an hour and a half actually, that you want to cook it on a low flame. You want to first put it on a high flame, so you want to brown it, and then you're going to flip it over and just cook it for about an hour and a half, okay? Okay, we'll be right back. So I'm checking on my rouladen here, and you can see that it's getting nice and brown. I browned it really well at first. Now I have it on a low flame. And like I said, once again, it has to cook for approximately an hour and a half. And if some of the filling comes out in your dish, that's okay, don't worry about it. You don't want all the filling coming out, but if you have just a little bit, that's all right. So don't freak out if a little bit of the filling comes out. And I'm going to cover it, keep it covered, and let that cook for approximately an hour and a half. I'll be back. Okay, so while the beef with the meat is cooking, let me share some of the side dishes you can make with rouladen. So for Christmas this past year, 2018, I made the rouladen, and I also made some red cabbage to go along with it, and mushrooms. And the way I make my mushrooms, you just get some butter, and you chop up your mushrooms just a little bit. And you want to put onions in there, of course, and garlic. And then basically saute your onions and garlic, add your mushrooms to that with the butter. And you let that cook for a few minutes, probably about 5 minutes or so. And that's it. It's so simple and so easy and so good. Another thing you can make is corn. And with corn, once again, I add some butter to my corn and a little bit of parsley and salt and pepper, real easy. And yeah, and we made potato balls too with the potato ball mix. It's called fani. It's something that I got at Kubi's. But basically that is the dish. So that's what we had for Christmas. So hopefully when I'll be back, the rouladen will be done and we'll give it a good taste test. Stay tuned. Okay, so we're finally got our rouladen done, yay. And I'm going to give it a good taste test, of course. So let me show you my plate really quick. I have my rouladen. Usually you want to serve 1 or 2, depending on people's appetite. And then I made some mushrooms and I got some red cabbage here. And it looks and smells so good. I cannot wait. Notice that the meat is very tender. I made some brown gravy with it. Oh my God. Yep. So good. And this combination of the red cabbage, the mushrooms, and the rouladen go really, really well together. Great. So hopefully you'll give it a shot. Give it a try. It's pretty easy to make. Takes a little prep, but otherwise it's pretty easy to make, and it's so delicious if you want a good German meal. So happy cooking. Bye-bye.